Okay, I'm gonna start now. So, hi everyone. My name is Mikey. So this is the memory and learning course, and the idea is that I'm gonna teach you guys memory methods, learning methods. So basically, how you can use your memory to the fullest. Like how can you can see the full potential of your memory. It can be used for studies. It can be used for just out of curiosity. You just want to memorize whatever you want. Maybe you want to memorize discourse. Maybe you want to memorize like a speech. Maybe you want to memorize a book. Maybe you want to memorize just a bunch of random numbers. Whatever it is, or if you just want to improve your grades, if you want to have a higher GPA, or if you want to spend less time studying, all of that are possible things for you to do given the methods that I'm going to teach in this course. So I hope it's going to be beneficial to all of you. And I hope you guys enjoy it. So about me, so my name is Mikey, and the reason why I'm teaching this course is basically I have been practicing memory methods for quite a while now. So I'm a two-time Guinness World Champion. So I've been practicing that a lot. And the idea behind those, like I memorized like a bunch of random digits, right? And one question many people asked me was like, why would you memorize like 10,000 digits of a random number? Like, why would you ever do that? Like, that's so useless. But the point is that it's not about memorizing like random digits. As you guys are gonna see, all the methods that allow you to memorize like random digits can be used to memorize, let's say, a book or study for your exam or all of that. And the point of me breaking the records, it was always about seeing what my memory was capable of or anybody's memory was capable of. So I have a very bad memory. I want to start the course saying that I have a bad memory. Um, I very likely, if you tell me your name, maybe I'm gonna forget it. Yeah, too bad. I don't have a perfect memory, and I actually have a bad memory. But the idea is that anyone, given the right methods, they can actually take their memory to another level. So it's not about having the right brain, having the best memory, like just being born that way, being gifted, but it's really about developing that skill. And also, um, I teach those methods on YouTube. So I'm from Brazil. My videos are usually in Portuguese and all of that. But I'm going to be posting the classes on YouTube. I'm recording just my voice. So you're fine talking, you're fine asking questions. You're not going to be heard. So it's fine. And you guys can watch it in case you cannot come to class or if something happens or anything like that. Or a friend of yours is interested in watching the classes, but they are not available at the time or anything like that, really. And I would still recommend you to come because if you think about it, it's very difficult for you to be motivated to come to watch a 2 hour lecture on something when you like it's not as easy. I know that it's easier for you to come here and ask questions and be more interactive. I hope this course to be a very interactive course in the sense that you're going to do a lot of activities and apply the methods throughout the class. So it would be better for you guys to be here. But if you're not, you can still watch the videos online. Okay, so as I said, the goals of the course, the idea would be, as I said, improving grades, being more time efficient, improving test scores, GRE, MCAT, LSAT, all of these are possible. And we also have learning how to memorize anything. If you want to memorize texts, if you want to memorize numbers, whatever it is, and learning how to self-study. So that's a goal that I didn't put in the interest form that I sent you guys, but after college, you're not going to have a professor. You're not going to have a teacher. You're not going to have anybody telling you how to learn or whatever. And you're really not going to need to self study. So, one of the goals of this course is that you're going to be like independent and you're going to learn on your own. And that's, I think, it's a very important goal as well. So, this is the interest form that I sent you guys. So, you can see like most people answered, most of the answers were what you guys were interested about this course. Most people answered that they wanted to see what your memory work was capable of. So I'm gonna try to direct and spend less time studying. So these two were the ones that received the most answers, and I'll try to focus the course more on that based on your answers. So I'm gonna try to focus on giving you guys a bunch of cool things you can do. So like, oh, I want to memorize, let's say, all the countries in the world and their capitals, and how can you do that? Or anything like that you find cool or think that you could not memorize otherwise, and you think, oh, I have a bad memory, I would never remember that. But like, I'm gonna show how that can be done, and also things about being more efficient. I'm gonna try to focus on that, like how you can actually spend less time. Now, let's talk about something more technical about the evaluations of this XCO. So if you're taking this XCO for credit, you need to submit the evaluations so you can receive a pass credit. So we have the first midterm. The idea is to build 15 flashcards on Anki. Anki is basically a flashcard app that I believe is the best software for learning that exists. And the idea is that 15 is a very low number. Okay, it's very little. The idea is that you should create those flashcards from your own classes. So I'm going to teach you guys how to create flashcards, how to use Anki, and then you're gonna use Anki for your own classes. And then you're just gonna send me the flashcards at the end for me to give like the first midterm evaluation. And as I said, it's going to be about your own classes. So my goal is not really to make this class another commitment for you guys, for you to have like even more work and then, just be like overloaded, like, oh my God, I'm so tired, I can't do this. But really the idea is that you can take the knowledge from this class and apply to your class and spend less time overall. Okay. So that's why I did that. And 15 flashcards, if you think it's a lot, it's not, it's very little, you're gonna see. About the second midterm, we have memorizing the content of the weeks 6 and 7 using the Memory Palace. So I'm gonna teach the Memory Palace method. You're gonna see later what the Memory Palace is. I'm gonna teach this method, which is like the most powerful and most scalable method. It's what I use to memorize it. Thousands and thousands of digits. Any memory champion is gonna use it. And it's really the biggest, the most powerful method that there is for memorization. And I'm going to teach you guys on week 5, and then on week 6 and 7, I'm going to teach you guys how to memorize numbers, specifically like memory methods for numbers. So if you're memorizing for like things like MCAT, LSAT, that's going to be very helpful. Or if you're just studying overall, numbers appear all the time. Sometimes you need to remember a number, and then those weeks 6 and 7 are going to be those methods. Week 5, you have a Memory Palace. We are going to apply the Memory Palace in the class itself to learn the own class. So it's a class about memorization, and in the class, you memorize the class, basically. The readings, we have the references, the books that I would recommend if you're interested in the topic. So the class is divided in multiple areas, and we can divide in all of these sections, let's say. And these are like books that if you're interested in diving deeper into one of those types of knowledge that I'm going to cover, you can read the books, but they're not mandatory. You don't need to buy them or anything. You don't need to worry. It's really about reference. If you feel like I don't trust you, you can always check the book. And about the websites. So the websites, they are something that I would recommend you guys to read before class, and they are going to be short. So you don't need to worry about them. They're really, really short. So, and you can skim if you want as well. But it would be good for you to have at least a sense of it. If you're too busy, there's no problem. It's an XCO. It's not supposed to be to involve too much requirement for me for like readings. But I would believe that would be very helpful for you to understand it better. So the syllabus, I'm just going to skim through it just to give a sense, because since this is the first class, I want to give a sense of what this XCO is about for you to decide whether or not I want to take it, right? So we're going to have this class. I'm going to introduce a very few introductory concepts. In the next lecture, I will talk about note-taking, like how you take notes during classes. Then I give you Anki, which is basically I teach you how to use the best software that there is for learning. Then I teach you foundations of memorization. We're going to learn how to memorize names, how to memorize formulas, how to memorize for like things that you have to do, like to-do tasks, and a bunch of other things. And then we have our first midterm, 15 flashcards on Anki. We have later on the next week, we have the Memory Palace. So basically what you can use to memorize any list you want, all the countries in the world, the periodic table, whatever you want to memorize. If you want to memorize, let's say, bones for human anatomy, if you're studying pretty much anything, how you can memorize that, like lists. Then we have number memorization. So if your lists have numbers, how can you memorize that? So we have 2 classes for numbers, because numbers, they're very cool. So they involve like more elaborate systems for memorization. And then we have text memorization. So how you can memorize speeches, how you can memorize text. What if you want to memorize a whole book? That's possible. Many people have memorized books before, and maybe you want to do that as well. Maybe you want to memorize for like music lyrics. Maybe you want to memorize for like acting or whatever it is. And then we have Feynman technique and mind maps. It's basically for studying how to understand things. So all of the other weeks, they are more about memorizing like concept or facts, isolated ideas. But then you also have to understand those ideas. So we have Feynman technique and mind maps. Then we have memory competition. That's our final. So the idea is that I'm gonna give you guys a memory competition at the end. You don't need to be like great. You just need to show up. Okay, that's it. I'm not gonna be very mean to you guys and like, oh, you didn't memorize fast enough. Fail. Like, I'm not gonna do that. But it's supposed to be just a fun thing, for a way for you to apply the methods. And then we have the last class, the second to last class, but the last content class, which is going to be about deliberate practice. So it's going to be about how you can develop a skill, how you can practice for tests like LSAT, MCAT, and so on. Because the other methods are about learning, but how can you become better at a specific skill? Like, how can you improve a specific skill that you have? So it can be used for drawing, it can be used for music, it can be used for test-taking skills, it can be used for any skill that you have. How can we develop? It's based on research on expertise, basically. So how we develop our skills and how experts become experts. And then we have a summary class. I'm just going to summarize everything, and then we're going to talk about like whatever you found about the course and all of that. So attendance policy, we have, because of the EXCO committee, they require us to keep attendance of everybody who's taking the course for credit. So you cannot, you could miss at most 3 classes if you're taking it for credit. And this is only valid for those who are taking for credit. For auditing, you don't have that requirement. And there are going to be video recordings that are going to be posted on YouTube. I'm going to send the link for you guys as well. And now the structure of the lectures. We're going to start with a theoretical introduction of the topic. And I'm going to give you guys some examples. I'm going to later let you guys ask some questions for it to see if you guys understood it. Give you some exercises so you can apply it. More questions, more space for questions. And then I give you guys optional exercises. As I said, the idea of this course is that you can apply this for pretty much anything, but sometimes it's not clear what you can memorize, what you can apply these methods for. So I'm going to give you like a bunch of examples you could do for maybe if you're interested in. Different people are going to be interested in applying the methods for different things, but I'll give you guys some directions. So now, today it's mostly about giving you guys a sense of what the course is gonna be about. But today I would like to give you at least a sense of just a very introductory concepts, very basic things, just to give you a sense of what this course is gonna cover, in a sense. So I'm gonna cover just very, very beginning topics. But before that, questions. Do you guys have any questions about the course? Things like, what am I going to be capable of? Can I, at the end of this course, will I be capable of doing this or that? If you have any questions, just let me know. Do you guys have any questions about anything whatsoever? You can feel free to ask questions, even if there is a camera recording. You're not going to be recorded. Don't worry about that. So yeah. So the first thing that I want to talk about is how we can divide learning. Okay. So the first way people think of dividing learning is through learning styles, right? And I just wanted to cover this at the beginning because this is very strong in this school, and I just want to make sure that we are not gonna endorse learning styles. So the first thing is that I would ask you guys to do is like, give it up. Please give it up. Just do not follow learning styles. So first thing, why not to hold learning styles? Why am I not endorsing learning styles? The first reason is that there are too many conflicting theories. So we're not going to use it. That's the first reason. There are too many theories, like really many theories about learning styles. And besides the fact that they're all conflicting, they don't have scientific support. And there is research refuting it in the sense that you don't actually see improvement by using that type of framework. It's not really useful. And also, the idea of like, I'm a visual learner, I'm an auditory learner, or anything, all those divisions that are usually often made, it doesn't really make much sense. Like, it depends much more on the content itself. So if you're learning how to pronounce words in German, definitely the best medium is not visual. Like, you agree with me, right? Like, even if you're a visual learner, if you're supposedly a visual learner, there is no way you're going to improve your pronunciation of German through images. So that's another reason why these idea of learning styles, they don't make sense. And also, they can also make students avoid learning about actually effective methods for studies. So I'm going to cover another way of dividing learning, how you can actually comprehend and divide and make sense of different ways to learn things, because that's going to be useful later on. But if you believe in learning styles, it can be very difficult for you to let it go, because why would you need to learn about ways of dividing learning when you already believe in learning styles? And that's what I mean by this last point. It really blocks you from learning actual knowledge about learning itself. So please give up learning styles. Do not hold it. Do not tell the school that I said that. They're gonna they are not gonna like that. But please do not tell anybody that I said that. But for everybody here, do not endorse learning styles, for God's sake. So I'm gonna offer an alternative. Okay, I'm gonna offer something better, and it's the Bloom's Revised Taxonomy. So the idea is that we can divide learning in another way. More specifically, we can divide learning objectives. So a learning objective is like a goal for learning. So when a professor is making its syllabus and it's thinking, what do I want my students to be capable of when they finish this course, right? And the Bloom's Revised Taxonomy is for that. If you're a student and you don't have if you're studying on your own, you also have learning objectives, right? You're thinking, well, what do I want to be capable of doing if I study for this? Like if you're practicing for the MCAT, you're thinking, what are your learning objectives? It would be like, I want to be capable of, let's be more specific. If you're studying, let's say, calculus, your learning objectives, one of it could be, I want to be capable of applying such and such formula. So you have a very specific formula in your head and you want to be capable of applying that. So how can we make sense of that? So the Bloom's Revised Taxonomy divides things in types of knowledge. So we have different types of knowledge. Okay, we have different ways that information is stored. We have all of that, basically. So that's a little bit confusing, but don't look at this side yet. Let's think only about the left column. So we have factual, conceptual, procedural, and metacognitive. And each one of those have different subcategories. And basically, factual information would be like isolated ideas. Conceptual would be structural things, like classifications, categories, models. Procedural would be things that are procedures, like algorithms, skills, things that you apply, like theorems, how to do things, basically. It's basically how to do something. And we have metacognitive, which is basically knowledge about yourself, knowledge about your own difficulties, like, oh, I know that I have difficulty in doing this, I'm slower in doing that. So it's metacognitive knowledge, basically. Knowledge about your own limitations, capacities, and so on. We have types of cognitive processes. So when you're thinking about learning something and have a learning objective, you can, for instance, maybe your goal is to remember something, but that's very different from applying that. Right? I think everybody can see a difference of that. So we have all of those divisions for cognitive processes. So we have, forget this column for now, they're subcategories. So we have remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. So remembering is basically just remembering. You're just remembering an idea, you're just remembering some content. Understanding is actually understanding the ideas, understanding how they interact with each other, being capable of summarizing, explaining, exemplifying, giving, classifying that, saying what caused it, what it causes. Being capable of applying that would be like applying a formula to solve a math problem or something. Analyzing is like being capable of differentiating and organizing those ideas. Evaluating would be like checking if your solution is right or wrong. And creating would be actually creating something on your own out of like nothing, let's say. Actually being capable of producing something, which is like a researcher would do or something like that. So I know this, I just threw a lot on you. And there is a reason why I'm making this, it's intentionally confusing. Okay, I'm actually making the conscious decision to make it confusing. Because my point is that if we join all of that, we get like 4 types of knowledge and 6 types of cognitive processes, and that gives us like 24 combinations, right? But they have subcategories, as I showed, the columns that I told you to ignore, and that gives you 209 combinations. And now I tell you, like, of course, people follow learning styles because it's easier. It's very confusing to explain all knowledge and how we think. So it can be very confusing. And learning styles, they're enticing because of that. You know, it's just a very simple framework. You can grasp it very quickly. It makes sense. It's kind of the astrology of learning. You know, it's the educational astrology. So it makes sense. It makes sense to people. But when you try to understand it like in a way that's more scientifically based, it's very difficult. It's just so tough. And that's why we're going to use a simplification of that. So we're going to simplify all of that so that you can understand how you can learn, and you can understand different ways of learning and what your professor wants from you, so you can focus on that. So what is the point of dividing learning instead of dividing and separating yourself? So instead of telling yourself, I'm a visual learner, I'm an auditory learner, you're going to divide the knowledge that you're learning, the learning objective, and you're going to focus on that. So different learning methods are going to be useful for different learning objectives, different learning goals, and you're going to choose the methods that are going to be better for that goal, instead of choosing the methods that are based on some learning style or something like that. You're going to ask yourself, what does my professor want from me? And you're going to choose the methods based on that. So we're going to divide on the first category would be recalling. So it's the learning objective of being capable of recalling factual knowledge. So for instance, if your professor is like, your exam is just full of questions like, when did such and such war happen? And then you got to choose among some options the date, the year. That's recalling. You're just recalling that. You don't need to understand anything. You're just recalling. If the professor asks you, please label the name of this, it doesn't necessarily involve as much understanding. If you memorize that, you could just get a right answer, right? So this is about recalling. Another thing would be about understanding. So if you have an open-ended question, you have a text, you got to write a small text, and it's asking you, please explain the causes and tell the consequences of such and such event in history or something like that. This involves more understanding, right? You need to understand how all those concepts play a role together. Or if you need to understand how a certain structure interacts with itself, in case of chemistry or something like that, then you would need more understanding. And applying procedural knowledge, that's in case you want to apply some math formula. So that's different. Even if you have, for instance, many professors allow you to take a cheat sheet, right, for exams. And you write down all the proofs, all the theorems that you need, and then you go to the exam and you don't know how to solve anything. That sucks. But like, that's not about memorizing things. That's not about recalling, that's about applying. So there is a difference between these three. If you have the whole book with you and you go to a math exam, you may still get a 0 because you don't know how to apply that. So even if you have a book with all the formulas, that only helps with the recalling. So recalling is for that. It's basically having a book that you can remember. Understanding is really understanding how these play a role together, how those bits of information, they interact, and that they become concepts in that way. They interact, and then they become conceptual knowledge. And the procedural knowledge would be how to apply that, which is very useful for things like math, physics, and all of that. So now I'm going to cover some ineffective learning methods. So I already talked about learning styles, and the idea is that learning styles, they're not exactly a method, but a framework. And now I'm going to just cover a few learning methods that maybe you're already familiar with, because the goal of this class, I'm not going to teach you any method today. I'm just going to teach you things that you should not do, basically. I'm just giving you a sense of how we're going to structure things and things for you to be ready to give up. So please give up learning styles. And now I'm going to tell you more things for you to give up. So the first thing to give up is highlighting. The highlight is not necessarily a good way of doing things. The idea is that the passivity of it is not going to help you. And we're going to cover how to have more active learning and how that can improve your scores. And another method that is also ineffective is rereading. So you go before an exam and you think, oh my God, I really need to study for this exam. What am I going to do? I'm going to pick my notes and I'm going to reread everything. That's also not very effective. I'm going to show you how you can do that better and make that in an active way, so you can actually learn the content and review for an exam. So I'm going to cover that more in depth in next week and after next week. So how you can study for exams, like you have an exam this week, how you can actually know exactly step by step what you have to do so you can feel like ready and prepared for the exam. So you're going to go to finals week and you're going to be like just chilling. And next would be summarization. The idea of you just pick your notes and you read them and you're like, okay, now I'm just going to summarize this and I'm going to learn. That's also not very effective. I'm not just saying what is ineffective. I'm basing myself on research. So I have the readings for this week have the research that I'm based on. Next would be multitasking. If you believe that you're very good at multitasking, I can do everything at the same time. You can't, but you believe you can, but you can't. So research is very, very strict with that. And research tends to show that people who believe they are better at multitasking tend to be worse at multitasking, which is very funny. But the thing is, multitasking can be very addictive and give a sense of productivity. Like, I'm doing so much. I'm doing so many things at the same time. I'm so good at this. Like, I'm like studying, I'm answering these emails, I'm replying to this person on Instagram, and at the same time, like, I'm doing so many things. And now I just received a notification. I can also check this out. And it gives a sense that you're doing a lot. But there's a fake sense of you're actually not accomplishing much. You're not doing much. You're not learning. That's not going to become actual learning. So multitasking is also something that I would tell you, like, it's not worth it. And I'm going to cover that more throughout the course, but especially in the second to last week, where we're going to cover deliberate practice. And I'm going to tell you guys the point of how focus is important and how how powerful focus is, in the sense that you can spend much less time and accomplish much more if you have a lot of focus on a certain task. And the fifth one would be cramming. So the idea of like, I'm gonna study everything right, like 1 hour before this exam, I'm gonna get everything, or the night before the exam. And the reason for why that's not effective is because breaks are super important. And if you're thinking like, oh, if I just study more hours, I can do it better. The goal of this course is that you're gonna hopefully you're gonna study fewer hours and you're gonna do more. So that's the main goal, is to show you methods that make you do less, and at the same time, like, spend less time and still learn more. And the idea of cramming is just you try to do like everything in that small period, but you can't have breaks because you don't have time. But breaks are very important. So you learn when you take breaks, you still learn when you sleep, and you still learn when you're not paying attention to something. And that's something that I'm going to cover later, but the idea of taking breaks is important. So cramming takes that off. And for sleep, for instance, it helps you consolidate learning. So cramming is not a good idea. We're going to show how we can study like consistently instead. And now, effective learning methods. They're the methods I'm going to cover in the course. So we have active recall. Active recall is the first method that I'm going to cover on Anki and flashcards when I talk about note-taking. So the idea is that instead of just rereading your notes, you try to recall the content of your notes. Not by reading, but just from your memory. And then you need to put effort on that. We have spaced repetition. So instead of reviewing everything at once, just 1 week before the exam, you review throughout a long period of time, but you don't need to review every day. You review in spaced periods of time. You study today, you don't need to study every single day. You study tomorrow, and then you don't need to study tomorrow again. Now you can study 2 days later, and then you study 5 days later, and so on. And periods of time keep growing because our memory works that way. We keep forgetting in increasing periods of time. And we're going to cover more on note-taking, and we're going to talk more about that in the note-taking class. The keyword method, it's about how you can memorize using images, how you can visualize things. We're going to cover the memory palace, how you can memorize long lists of whatever it is. The major system, for you to like memorize numbers. We're going to talk about the Feynman technique for you to understand how you can explain things. So the idea is that for you to understand something, you can understand better by re-explaining that. We have mind maps, which is basically a way for you to structure the information. So when you structure the information, when you rewrite the information in a different structure, you're also learning. And we're going to cover deliberate practice, which is a way for you to basically develop any skill. So basically how to achieve expertise in a certain field, whatever field it is. If you tell me you really want to be good at whatever it is, climbing trees, deliberate practice can be applied to that. You want to be the world expert in climbing trees, you can do that using deliberate practice. It's any type of expertise whatsoever. So that's it. And if you haven't filled the interest form, please fill it out. And the idea is that today's class was very introductory. My goal was just to show you guys just a sense of what it is. So it is a more boring class. I didn't show up anything. In the next classes, I'm actually going to cover something more in depth, or like something more applied. So you're going to be either using your laptop for using Anki as an app, or you're going to be actually memorizing numbers or memorizing lists. And I'm going to be showing you faces and names and be like, let's memorize these names and how you can apply those methods and things more practical. So you're going to be applying the methods during the class itself. But yeah, so I hope you guys will take a lot of benefit from this class, and that's it. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please let me know. Who has a? Yeah, I think you have a.
Yeah. So do extra credits kind of like specific credit areas, like a normal class, or it's a general credit?
Does anyone else have any other questions?
So every Wednesday from 5 to 7?
Yes. So the classes are going to be from 5 to 7 in this room. So it's King 227. Also, please please fill the interest form, especially if you're thinking of taking for credit. Okay. And any other question? Do you have a question? Sure.
If you're not doing for credit, how do you go in? Is it just email? Oh no, it's every email. Never mind.
Yeah. So I'm gonna everybody who filled the interest form, they are in the mailing list. So I'm gonna email in case of like there's any unexpected thing happening. So in case we change rooms or whatever happens. But yeah. Sure.
Is there gonna be like a blackboard or is it just?
I'm thinking of just email. I'm thinking of making just email, and maybe I'm gonna make a drive folder, possibly.
Because I was gonna say to register for the class on overview.
Mhm.
you need, like, a
Yes.
specific code.
Oh, that's a good question. So for those who are taking it for credit, I'm going to send the codes on Friday. So I'm gonna send everybody who filled the interest form and said, I want to take it for credit. I'm gonna send you a code. If you filled it out and chose to audit it, I'm not going to send the code. So if you change your mind and want to take for credit, you can change the answer. So go there, change your answer to the form, and choose for credit. So, and Friday I send the code.
Did you say you were reading?
So yeah, we have about the readings. The idea is that we have some books that are just for reference in case you want to check if what I'm saying is actually true, or if you're just interested in diving deeper into the content. And there's going to be some websites, and the website, it would be good if you read it before your class. If you're too busy, it's fine, you don't need to read it, but if you read it, it's going to be easier to understand the class. They are in the syllabus, and I can send the syllabus to everybody's email, but it's also in the interest form. In the interest form, there's the link for the syllabus. Okay. Any other questions?
Will the slides be emailed to us, or?
You know what? I think I should create a drive folder. Yes, I should definitely create a drive folder. So I'm going to create one and send the link to all you guys and share with all you guys. Okay? Any other question? So, sure.
Will the course be like given next year, for example, for somebody who might want to take the MCAT in a couple of years, so they get like a refresher?
Honestly, I'm not thinking of teaching it again, but like, because I hope to give a lot of attention to this. Like, it's going to be a lot of work. And one of my goals in like recording this is just like it keeps recording, and I'm just gonna leave it there. So I'll most likely not teach it again, but just because it's like a lot of effort. So I would rather focus on my other classes. But it's going to keep being recorded. So if anybody wants to check it again to learn some content, if they want to specifically one class, they want to watch one class about memory palaces. What if someone thinks, well, I want to break this guy's record, so they can just watch the video and break it. So yeah, it's going to be more about that, and yeah, it's going to be available for anyone who wants to check it out. But yeah, anybody else? Any other questions? If anyone is thinking about, if you want to ask about something that you want to be capable of doing and you don't think you can do. I'm actually curious, anyone here, is there anything specifically that you would like to memorize or learn that you don't think you are capable of right now, but you want to be capable to?
Every single reaction from bioorganic and organic chemistry.
Every single reaction from?
Bioorganic and organic chemistry.
How many are there?
Chemistry.
How many are there?
Probably around 150.
That's doable.
Step-by-step reaction.
How many steps are there per reaction?
It depends on
The most, what is the biggest you have? How many steps?
Probably like 7-step reaction.
7?
Yeah.
Okay. That's doable.
Yeah.
That's totally doable. Well, anybody, what is the other thing that you guys would like to memorize? Is there any other thing that you would like to memorize, like very much? Frank?
Names of new people I meet.
Names of new people. Names of new people you meet, definitely, yeah. We're gonna cover that very early in the course. That's good. That's good. That's something. So although I know the methods, it doesn't mean that I'm gonna apply it to everybody. So sometimes I just don't want to, and I just forget people's names. But like, if you want to, you can just apply the method and remember it. But yeah, anyone else?
I just have
Sure.
Do you think that your like general memory of things has gotten better since you started using
That's a good question. Yeah. No. My memory still sucks. That's something very funny. So, if you talk to anybody who has practiced the methods a lot, this is not just me. It's not as if just I have problems with memory, but like anybody who has practiced it a lot, any memory champ, whoever, if you ask them, do you have a good memory? Most of them say no. Or do you have a bad memory? Sometimes say, yeah, kind of. So, and if you ask them, have you improved your memory throughout the years you've been practicing those methods? And no, it still sucks. I'm like, sometimes I go to my mom and I'm like, Mom, what happened that day? And it's just like, bruh, like you're like, what are you talking about? Like you should remember that. But the idea is that you can only remember what you apply the methods to. So if I didn't apply the methods and I just left for my natural memory, it still sucks. So no, it doesn't get better. I'm sorry. But if you apply the methods, it's quite awesome.
Does it diminish your natural memory at all?
If it diminishes, I don't think so. No, it doesn't. Thank God. No, imagine. At this point, I would be like, I would be dead at this point. What I had for dinner last night? I don't remember. I don't remember. I didn't memorize it. I didn't put in my memory palace. I didn't. If I had put in my memory palace, we can cover that. But some people do apply the methods for daily things. It's really up to you. So if you want to apply the methods for memorizing every single day of your life, like there was this guy who liked to memorize every single day. So instead of having a diary, a journal, he would like memorize in his memory palace every single day of his life. And that's very cool. Like 365 days of the year, you just put every single day in the memory palace and you can remember everything. But I just think about that. I'm like, I would just write in a Word file. It's just much easier. But like, it's up to you. You can use it to memorize whatever. Anybody has any other questions? Sure.
Give us a demo of your memorizing capabilities.
We are going to check that.
No, I mean like right now.
Right now?
Look up a number generator, generate like 20 numbers, memorize them.
Not right now.
Okay.
Not right now. I want you to be in the next classes.
Okay.
Okay. In the future classes, when we get to numbers, we get to faces and all of that, we're gonna cover that. So, anyone else? Anyone else? No other questions? So I think, yeah. So I guess that's all. Thank you very much. Have a good rest of your day. And yeah, see you guys in the next classes.
Thank you, Mike.
Of course.